Welcome to today's Explainer. I am absolutely thrilled you're joining me because today we are unpacking a concept that literally every single one of us can relate to. Look, let's just be honest right out of the gate here. We all have those days, weeks, or maybe even months where we just feel completely unmotivated. You know the exact feeling I'm talking about, right? The alarm goes off and your absolute first, deepest instinct is to just aggressively hit snooze, pull the covers right up over your head, and pretend the outside world doesn't even exist. It happens to the best of us. You look at your to-do list and the inspiration to give your 100% best effort just isn't there. Maybe you're feeling a little burned out, completely overworked, or just flat out exhausted. It's a heavy, heavy feeling. But today, we're going to explore a fascinating narrative from our source material that flips this entire feeling totally on its head. We're going to look at a super powerful story that reveals exactly what happens when we let that exhaustion take the wheel. So let's start right here with a really core question. Why do we actually stop giving our best? Our source material points out that a lot of the time, it's just because we feel undervalued. We feel like we're putting in all this work, all these hours, and maybe we aren't getting the appreciation or the paycheck we think we deserve. We're just tired. And listen, it is incredibly validating to recognize those feelings because they are so deeply human. But here is the central premise we're going to explore today. Whatever the reason is for dialing back our effort, we have this massive blind spot. We tend to think we're, getting back at a boss or taking a much-needed break from a partner. But the real truth, whenever we don't give it our all, the only person's future happiness we are actually hurting is our own, not anyone else's, just ours. Okay, let's dive into this. Section 1, The Fable of the Retiring Carpenter. This is a brilliant story that perfectly illustrates this psychological blind spot. So, our source material shares this story of a veteran construction worker. This guy had been building homes for years and years. He was incredibly skilled, but man, he was tired. He had finally reached the end of his career and he was totally ready to hang up his tool belt. So he goes to his longtime boss and tells him about his plans to retire, spend more time with his family, and just live a much more relaxed life, far away from the daily grind of construction. Naturally, the boss was super disappointed. He was losing one of his best, most reliable guys. But after giving it some thought, the boss comes back to the carpenter with a somewhat hesitant final request. He asks the worker to build just one final house, just one more before he officially retires. Now, the worker wasn't exactly thrilled with this idea. He already had one foot out the door. His mind was already on a beach somewhere enjoying retirement. But out of a sense of obligation, he agreed to take on this one last project. And this right here brilliantly illustrates the exact trap we were talking about a minute ago. Normally, this carpenter had incredibly high standards. That level of dedication was exactly what made him so valuable for all those years. But on this final house, because his heart just wasn't in it anymore, his behavior completely changed. He ended up using cheap materials, he cut corners left and right, he simply didn't do his best job. He was really just going through the motions, letting his feelings of exhaustion and his desire to just be done dictate the quality of his work. He was physically on the site, sure, but mentally, he was completely checked out. So, at long last, the house is finally complete. The carpenter is probably breathing a massive sigh of relief at this point. The longtime boss comes down to the site to inspect the finished work. He walks through the rooms, looks around the property, taking in the results of the carpenter's labor. And then, right before leaving, the boss turns to the worker and makes an incredibly surprising move. He reaches into his pocket, pulls out the front door key, and hands it directly to the carpenter. Which brings us to the devastating climax of the fable. The boss looks right at him and says, "This is your house, my gift to you." Just let that sink in for a second. This was meant to be a huge, incredible surprise for the worker, a massive reward for his years of dedicated service. Under normal circumstances, being gifted a brand new house would literally be the most amazing surprise of someone's life. But in this specific moment, the context changes absolutely everything. That amazing surprise instantly turned into a crushing weight of regret. The worker just stood there, looking around at the terrible job he had just done. He saw the cheap materials he had chosen, he saw the corners he had cut just because he wanted to rush through it, and the immediate regret just washed over him. The realization hit him like a ton of bricks. If only he had known he was building his own house, he would have done it so much better. He wouldn't have compromised on a single thing. But now it was too late. He was the one who actually had to live in this deeply flawed house that he had just slapped together. Which brings us seamlessly to Section 2, the metaphor and the true quality of our effort. So the crucial point here is this. We aren't just talking about a construction worker, are we? The source material uses this story to perfectly capture a fundamental truth about human nature and our own lives. The lesson is that what we get out of life is a direct result of the effort we put in today. Every single action we take, every choice we make when we're tired, is a literal brick in the house of our own future. I mean, we've all experienced a time when we just didn't feel like giving 100%. We look at the expected effort, what we supposedly owe others, like our boss, our partner, our personal trainer. And then we look at the actual effort, what we know we can safely get away with doing. Just like that carpenter, we realize that, hey, maybe no one will notice if we use a slightly cheaper material, or if we clock out 5 minutes early, or if we don't give our full attention. We do less than what's expected of us because we think we're somehow cheating the system.
So where do we actually cut these corners in real life? Well, maybe we're at the gym, and instead of focusing on our training and pushing ourselves, we're just sitting on a machine, scrolling on our phones, totally focused on what's trending online. In fact, to put that into perspective, studies actually show that people often spend up to 30% of their gym time just sitting around staring at a screen instead of moving. Or maybe we feel unmotivated at work. We start doing less because we feel we deserve a promotion or more compensation first before we're going to give our best. Or, even more personally, in our relationships. We stop doing the little things, we stop buying flowers, we stop opening doors, we stop actively listening because we feel tired, too busy, or maybe a bit underappreciated by our partner. We justify cutting these corners because we feel totally justified in our exhaustion. But here is the stark reality, and it's a bit of a gut punch. The only person who ends up losing is ourselves. Think about it. If you cut corners at the gym, you don't cheat the gym owner, you're cheating your own future body and your own health. If you withhold effort at work because you're waiting for recognition, you are the one stunting your own career growth and skill development. If you stop trying in your relationship, you are the one who ends up living in a disconnected, unhappy home. The life that we have tomorrow so heavily depends on the effort that we pour into our actions today. We are always building our own house. All right, let's shift gears and get into the final part of our explainer today, Section 3, the 100% effort mindset and how to start investing in yourself. Once you truly realize that you are the ultimate beneficiary, or on the flip side, the ultimate victim of your own daily effort, your entire perspective just has to shift. It is time to stop looking at effort as some kind of tax you pay to other people and start looking at it as an investment you are making in your own future reality. When you change your perspective like that, you have to challenge yourself to step up. Henry Ford famously defined quality as doing it right even when no one is looking. And it's a great quote about integrity, for sure. But our source material adds this brilliant, absolutely crucial caveat to this idea. The truth is, someone is always looking at you. You are looking at you. You know when you've cut a corner. You know when you've held back. So we really have to hold ourselves to a higher standard and give our absolute best effort every single day. Not because a boss is watching, but because the quality of our effort ultimately determines the quality of our own lives. So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with one final lingering thought. Moving forward, whenever you are feeling tired, whenever you're feeling underappreciated, and whenever you are tempted to give less effort than your absolute best, I want you to remember the carpenter's mistake. Pause, look at the task right in front of you, and ask yourself these two questions. Am I building my best future? And is this really the house that I want to live in? Because at the end of the day, you're the one who has to live in it. Thank you so much for joining me today for this explainer. I really hope this helps you frame your next challenge, and I'll catch you next time.